Coconut macaroons are one of my favorite bakes to make. It's also a great use for extra egg whites you might have lying around from making ice cream or something like that. Measuring time. We got about 7 egg whites going into this. Get rid of that. That's right. A little bit of salt going in. Super important. Touch of vanilla extract. All-purpose flour. Gluten-free flour works great in this too. Some recipes you can't do it, but this one you can. Desiccated coconut. When this stuff goes into the oven, the coconut is what makes this smell killer. And lastly, cane sugar. All 6 ingredients into the bowl. Here we go. Mix those guys all together. Salt, you are wonderful. Whisking is a great way to disperse your dry ingredients before you add your liquid. The goal should always be to get as homogeneous a mixture as possible, and to do that, getting those dry ingredients spread up. I've heard of people using blenders to try to get things as even as possible. Take a look at the Cake Bible sometime for that kind of info. Some recipes have you cook this mixture a bit up to 130, but I've never really seen the need. Take your ice cream scoop or a spoon or your hands. All these suckers up on the tray, good enough. Pack these into a preheated oven at 350 or 180 Celsius. By skipping the pan cooking step, they seem to end up with more caramelization in the oven when you don't cook them. I mean, that could just be me. Maybe I'm a little biased or a slacker, but that's how it seems to be. Cook these for about 15 to 20 minutes depending on your oven. I'm using a convection oven, so it's going to be a little faster with the fan blowing the air around. Now you really want to let these guys cool down entirely before you do anything with chocolate. Fridge, freezer, whatever, just get them as cool as possible. Then we're going to break some dark chocolate into a pan. Smart way to do this is with a double boiler if you want to really make sure you don't throw your chocolate out of temper. Or you could just live on the edge and put it on low and stir it a little bit. Worst case scenario, you're just going to lose a bit of that temper as long as you don't blow too far past 90 degrees. We'll get that stirred up and slowly melted on the stovetop. Now the dipping begins. This one's totally up to you how much you want to do. Just a little foot is the normal way to do it. You could cut the entire thing for an interesting kind of truffle on a bit more of the giant scale. Not that there's anything wrong with that. These are easy to eat a lot of. One of life's little miracles is when you're doing something like this, if you can finish by the end and not have spread chocolate all over the place. And last but not least, we're going to put some chocolate on top. You can do it abstractly like this or in neat lines, doesn't really matter. Just something to add a little bit more. Chocolate, that is. Coconut macaroons are one of my favorite bakes to make at home or at any restaurant or bakery I've been a part of. So when I started the chocolate factory and I decided to deviate from the dark chocolate world and start doing a bit of alternative milk bars, coconut macaroon was kind of a no-brainer. Introducing a new bakery lineup into the Crow and Moss land. My plan is to do these in limited runs, some seasonal things, holiday bakes, doing these things on a small scale, just see how it goes. Actually, hold on a sec. When I first transitioned from home baker to commercial baker, my girlfriend and I were living in Vermont in a log cabin style house. We just moved from Seattle, where I had a job lined up as a solar panel installer in the next valley over. But once we got there, the next valley over Vermont reality was winter, sketchy, pass. Now, neither of us had a car that could guarantee that as something that would happen consistently. So, out of desperation, I took a job as a dishwasher at a little country idyll called American Flatbread. That was one of those moments, looking back, that would change the course of my life. For me, learning how to make wood-fired pizza in my first competitive restaurant environment was one of those moments too, where I wouldn't even have any idea based on the trajectory my life had been going up until that point. But working with food, getting to bring things from home like chocolate dipped coconut macaroons and starting to do them in restaurants like a Texas style California restaurant I worked at in Vermont also, which was called Mad Taco. I started doing baking there after American Flatbread's factory shut down. And initially I was just making what they'd been doing, which was Mexican wedding cookies, which are awesome. But we decided to expand the line a little bit. I started doing chocolate dipped coconut macaroons, just little to-go bags, super simple. Started adding things like ice cream sandwiches, which I brought my own ice cream machine in and used that to do. Amusingly, everyone would get a staff drink at the end of every shift, and I didn't drink, so my staff drink was an ice cream sandwich, which, as you can imagine, if you're having an ice cream sandwich a day as your treat, tends to add up a lot based on everything else you're doing. So those are fond memories. Entering into the world of commercial food production was one of those milestones that, when you look back on your life, make such a difference. The births, the deaths, the loves, the marriages, the divorces, those things that are essentially like the chapters of your life. For me, commercial food, getting into that, transitioning from a home baker and learning those ropes changed the trajectory of everything that I was going to do in the future. And to look back on it, I can say, like, at this point, there was a choice and a split in the road. I had a decision and I chose one way versus the other. Those are the ones that make such a difference.